we are going to get started with the 10-1 notes. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about how we name polynomials. So polynomials, this front page here has a bunch of examples of them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. There's 8 different examples of polynomials. And they all look different, and based on how they look, that is how we name them. So every polynomial gets 2 names. There's a last name that's based on the number of terms, and it gets a first name, which is based on the degree. All right, so let's go through and just start with the number of terms. Terms are separated. Terms are separated by a plus or a minus. So every time you see a plus or a minus, you know that we've started a new term. So let's look at A, 7DE. Is there a plus or minus sign anywhere? No. That means there's only one term. And what do we call something that has one term? A monomial. So I'd like you to write monomial on that second line there. And let's talk about the other things that we name these. 2 terms is a binomial. 3 terms is a trinomial. If we have 4 or more terms, we call it a polynomial. Poly means many. Let's look at part B. 11x squared plus, that means we're starting a new term. 11x squared plus 3x cubed. So that is 2 terms. 2 terms means we call it a binomial. Binomial. C, 1/3 w squared z plus 1/2 z to the 4th minus 5. Well, there's my first term. Then I have a plus sign, which means I start a second term. And the minus sign means that I have another term. So I have 3 terms, which makes this a trinomial. D, I have -6 plus 5x. That is 2 terms. 2 terms means we call it a binomial. E, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. What do I call something with 4 terms? I simply call it a polynomial. All right, I would like you to fill out the last names for F, G, and H. So I'd like you to pause the video, fill those in, and then check your answers when you're done with. All right, so for F, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, so we call it a polynomial. Same thing with G, there are 4 terms. And H, there's 1, 2, 3 terms, so we call it a trinomial. All right, let's talk about how we do the first name of a polynomial. And that is based on the degree. Now, degree is basically the biggest exponent. Degree has to do with the exponents, okay? So degree 0 is a constant, and that means there's no variable at all. Constant means no variable. Linear means that the exponent is 1. Degree 1 is linear. So that would be like just x, because if I just have x, there's really an exponent of 1 on there. Quadratic is degree 2, which would be like x squared. Degree 3 is cubic, so like x cubed with an exponent of 3. Degree 4 is quartic, or x to the 4th. Think about quarters, 4 quarters. X to the 4th is quartic. 5 is quintic. And if I have an exponent of 6 or more, we would just call it 6th degree or 7th degree or 8th degree and so on. So let's go through and try these here. So let's look at A. I'm only going to look at the exponents of the variables. Now, D has an exponent of 1. E has an exponent of 1, which really means altogether it's degree 2. Degree 2 means that we have quadratic. So this would be a quadratic monomial. All right, let's look at B. This one is degree 2. This one is degree 3. And we want to look at the biggest degree, the biggest power. So that is 3, which means it is cubic. Cubic binomial. All right, let's look at these terms here. 2 and 1 means that is degree 3. All right, so this term has a degree of 3. This term has a degree of 4. And this last term here doesn't have a variable at all, so that would be degree 0. So then we look and we say, okay, which one is the biggest? It's 4. Degree 4 means we call it quartic. So this is a quartic trinomial. All right, let's look at D. So D, the first term is negative 6, which has no variable. So we call that a constant or degree 0. 5x, x really has an exponent of 1. That is degree 1. The biggest one is 1, so we call this a linear binomial. All right, E. This term has degree 4. This term has degree 4 because it's 2 plus 2. This term has degree 7 because we have 3 plus 4. And this last term has no variable at all, so it's degree 0. Now, what is the biggest degree? It's 7. And when we have 6 or more, we don't have a special name for it. We just simply call it 7th degree. So that would be a 7th degree polynomial. All right, I would like you to pause the video and try to find the degrees of the last 3 polynomials and give them their correct first name. So pause the video, try these on your own, and check back for the answers to see how you did. All right, so the biggest degree here is 5, which means it's quintic. Same thing with G, so these are both quintic polynomials. For H, the biggest degree is 8, which means we'd call it an 8th degree trinomial. All right, next thing we're going to talk about is what we call standard form. Standard form means that we have to write polynomials in a certain order. And we put the order of the terms from largest to smallest degree, or remember, degree really means exponent. So let's go through and put all of these in standard form. Well, 7DE, there's only one term, so there's nothing I can do to put it in standard form. It already is. Let's look at B. This is degree 2, this is degree 3. According to standard form, the biggest degree goes first. So I would have 3x cubed plus 11x squared. All right, let's try C. So I have 3, 4, and 0. That means my degree 4 term is going to go first, followed followed by the degree 3 term, and then lastly, the constant term. All right, let's keep moving. D, I'm going to put the biggest degree first. So 5x, and notice that this is a minus 6. It's going to stay a minus 6. All right, I'm going to put my degree 7 term first. And for these two, since they're equal in degree, it doesn't matter which one you put next. But the plus 2 is definitely going to go last because it has degree 0. All right. Again, you try these last 3. Put it in standard form for me. All right. Carefully check over your polynomials. Make sure you have them in the right order and that you have all the negatives and positives in the right spots that go with the right terms. Notice H was already in standard form. We didn't have to move any of the terms around. All right, last idea is the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the number in front after writing in standard form. So once it's in standard form, then we can look at the number in front. So for us here, our leading coefficient, I'm just going to shorten it to LC for leading coefficient, is 7. Here, my leading coefficient is 3. For C, the leading coefficient is 1/2. For D, the leading coefficient is 5. How about for E? What's the number in front here? Remember, technically, there is a 1 there. So our leading coefficient is 1. All right, same as always, I'd like you to pause the video and identify the leading coefficient of those last 3 polynomials. All right, hopefully you were able to get a leading coefficient of -7, 1, and -3. That is it for our lesson 10.1 notes. We'll see you for the next video.